Hello, welcome back to the Spoony Stitcher channel. I'm Shannon the Spoony Stitcher, you're inside the Stitchery, and I'm so happy you're here today. Welcome back for another Film Friday! Yay! Yeah, okay, so totally missed the ball in November. But I did give you the best Thanksgiving TV episodes, so that was something, but it wasn't really a film, it was television, but you know. But today's episode is about the 5 best Christmas Carol adaptations, according to me. Of course, feel free to disagree. Just everyone be respectful in the comment section, that's all I ask. So, these are kind of all over the place. They're different years, different types, different genres almost. And these are the ones I think did it the best. So my criteria is as follows. Does it stick to the source material? Does it ruin any of the characters? And does anything distract too much from the original message and material? Those are my criteria. You're welcome to have your own. I will say none of these are in any particular order about which one I like the most or anything. This isn't really a ranking. This is just the 5 I would pick as my top 5. Feel free to leave your top 5 in the comments below. I would love to know that. And if you agree with any of mine, let me know. So what I did is I put mine in order of year. I thought that was the easiest way to do it. So I put mine in order of the year it came out. A Christmas Carol, starring Sir Reginald Owen as Ebenezer Scrooge and Gene Lockhart as Bob Cratchit. Now, one of the best things about this particular version is that Gene Lockhart starred with his wife, and his daughter, June Lockhart, was one of the Cratchit children. I think that is precious. I love that little factoid. It's just a fun little Easter egg that is in the film that just makes it so adorable. Also, Anne Rutherford as the Ghost of Christmas Past. Stunning. Her dress, I think that is one of the best costumes. And let's talk about costumes. Yes, the period costumes were absolutely gorgeous, especially in the 30s. I mean, the 30s knew how to do it. The 30s did it right. The nightshirt and the robe and the nightcap that Sir Reginald Owen wears as Scrooge, I mean, that just looks so great. And all of the costumes for when they go back in the past, and it's just really great. I love how this version you get to see the entire childhood almost of Scrooge, and they include his sister, which a lot of adaptations leave out. It's funny, it's sweet, it's really well done. They stick very true to the source material. It's great. If you've never seen that version, highly recommend it. Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, 1962. A lot of you are laughing at me right now. An animated one? Yeah, an animated one. It's brilliant, okay? So Mr. Magoo is a character in the 60s that he couldn't see very well. He was, there was always a joke about him, needing his spectacles, needing his glasses, and it was a very funny joke. So anyway, they made Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. So Mr. Magoo was an actor played by the hilarious Jim Backus. He was known for TV, movies, all kinds of stuff. He's just funny in general, but he was the voice of Mr. Magoo. What it is he's an actor who's doing a Christmas Carol. He's playing the part of Scrooge. And he does it very well, and it's very funny seeing him as Mr. Magoo and then seeing Mr. Magoo as Scrooge, because it's two completely different people. I mean, Mr. Magoo is a lovable guy, and Scrooge, of course, is not very lovable. But there's wonderful voices in here. There's June Foray, who was a phenomenal voice actress in the 60s. If you heard a female voice that was either in the Looney Tunes or a Rocky and Bullwinkle show or stuff like that, it was probably June Foray. So she's in this as several different characters. Bob Cratchit is played by Jack Cassidy. If you don't know who that is, that was Shirley Jones' husband. David Cassidy is their son. Maury Amsterdam from the Dick Van Dyke Show. And Paul Frees. So Paul Frees used to be June Foray's partner. So usually if there was like a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend or, henchman and evil witch or something like that. Anyway, Paul Frees would voice all the men for the most part, and June Foray would voice all the women. So he was Boris Badenov, and she was Natasha Fatale. So, I mean, I love that they're back together again doing that. That's really cute. Besides all the phenomenal voice acting in this, it's cute. And just because, you know, it's a separate character from the original story, it doesn't take away from the Christmas Carol story. It doesn't take away at all. And I love that. It's not very long. It's about, 35 minutes? I mean, it's not a long movie at all, but I still absolutely believe it belongs on this list. Every time they use lines from the Christmas Carol, it's direct wording. I mean, they quote the original novel. None of the characters seem out of place or seem like something that wouldn't happen in the book. And there's no extraneous little storylines other than the beginning is he's late and he needs to be in the play and the curtain goes up and that's it. That's the rest of it is the Christmas Carol, so it doesn't matter. And so, you know, it fits all my criteria. The other thing, of course, bonus points, it's a musical. So I love the soundtrack. And I know that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, hate the song We're Despicable. I love it. I love that song. I know a lot of people hate it. You're missing out. That was a great song. And June Foray gets a lot of time in that song. So, yeah. One of my favorites is The Lord's Bright Blessing. And knowing we're together. That's such a cute song. I love that song. It's a great movie. It's a great musical, mini musical. It's hilarious. It's sweet. It's funny. It sticks to the source material. And nothing feels out of place. So if you've never seen it, for some reason, if you've been on this earth and never seen Mr. McCree's Christmas Carol, go look it up. It's great. 1983's Mickey's Christmas Carol. Yeah, another animated one. I love Mickey's Christmas Carol. If you haven't seen, I own the limited edition Tsum Tsum set of Mickey's Christmas Carol that came out years ago. I showed it in one of my Vlogmas videos. Yeah, I love that movie. Part of it is nostalgia, I'm sure, but it's also very clever. So if you don't know Mickey's Christmas Carol, Scrooge McDuck plays Ebenezer Scrooge. Mickey is Bob Cratchit. Minnie is Mrs. Cratchit. And a whole host of others are different characters. You've got Daisy as Belle. You've got Donald as Nephew Fred. You've got Jiminy Cricket as Christmas Past. Yes. Pete as Christmas Yet to Come. Of course. Duh. That makes perfect sense. All of the old Disney characters playing the parts of the different Christmas Carol characters. But it doesn't take away from it. Their personalities work in these parts. I don't think that it detracts from it at all because it does feel very purposeful. I mean, even though it's slightly sillier than probably Charles Dickens intended, it's great. And then the song at the very beginning, that it's not a musical, but the song at the very beginning that plays, you know, while the credits roll and stuff. I love that song. I can't sing it because of copyright, but it's so beautiful. So, highly recommend Mickey's Christmas Carol. 1992, Muppet Christmas Carol. How could I not? Don't they do such a great job and you don't even care they're Muppets? I mean, sometimes you even forget because they do such a good job. Kermit as Bob Cratchit. Of course he is. Of course. Because he's the total embodiment of Bob Cratchit. It makes perfect sense. And then, of course, Miss Piggy has to be his wife. And she's hilarious. Just like the Disney's version with, you know, Mickey and Minnie and stuff. These are Muppets taking on characters from the classic novel, but the personalities work. So there's a moment in the book, you know, where they talk about to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast, and Mrs. Cratchit has a line, "The founder of the feast, indeed. If I had him here, I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon." Well, isn't that so, Piggy? I mean, that is so Miss Piggy. That makes perfect sense. So, yeah, all the characters fit really, really well. And so, bravo, Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and all the other wonderful, talented people behind the movie, because it was so well done. And it is one of the movies we have to watch every single year. I mean, if we don't watch Muppet Christmas Carol, it's not Christmas. You know? Like, some people have to watch Elf. Some people have to watch It's a Wonderful Life. Some people have to watch Miracle on 34th Street. You know, there's always going to be that movie that you have to watch that makes it feel like Christmas. Muppet Christmas Carol makes it feel like Christmas. Sir Michael Caine is phenomenal. He makes a wonderful Scrooge. And the human actors interact with the Muppets so well, you just think they're other actors. They don't even make any bones about the fact that they're Muppets visually, but acting-wise, everybody acts like they're just one of the cast. You know, they're just regular actors like everybody else. Nobody treats them like puppets, which is one of the brilliant things about the Muppet films. No one ever treats them like Muppets, with a few exceptions, but those are not the good films, so that's okay. For some strange reason, if you have never seen Muppet Christmas Carol, maybe because it is puppets, and so you think this is going to be corny, this is going to be silly, they actually stick very close to the source material. It is narrated by Great Gonzo and Rizzo the Rat. And so he takes you through, which is the fun comedic part. You know, they kind of remind you a little bit of like Abbott and Costello kind of feeling, and I love that. But they also have some of the best lines, to be honest, that are not in the original book. But Gonzo, a lot of the time when he's narrating, that's part of the original book. So, I mean, I'm impressed that they stick close to the source material. A lot of Michael Caine's lines, if not all of them, are directly from the novel. He obviously did play it straight like he said he would. And it's just so well done. The costumes, the sets, the special effects, which they didn't have a lot, but the ones they did have looked really good. Christmas Past. For the longest time, I thought that it was digitally done. I thought Christmas Past was actually, computerized. He, she, we don't know. It's a child. The child is not. It's a Muppet. So somehow you had to... I don't even know. I don't know how they did it, but it's phenomenal. I'm impressed. I just... That one gets me every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, when I found out that was not digitally done, I had a whole new respect for this film, even though I already love it. I have a whole new respect for it. So, if you've never seen it for some reason, 1992, Muppet Christmas Carol, go see it. 2004, A Christmas Carol, the musical, starring Kelsey Grammer as Ebenezer Scrooge. If you don't know, my favorite television show of all time is Frasier. And nothing has changed my mind yet. And even the reboot is still very good. So I do have a soft spot for Kelsey Grammer. He did a great job. The super fun thing about this, besides the fact that it's a musical, and the music was done by the phenomenal Alan Menken. That's right, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Tangled, Pocahontas, that guy. So you know the music is good. Is that there's so many stars in this movie. I mean, okay, buckle up. Kelsey Grammer, Jane Krakowski, Jesse L. Martin, Geraldine Chaplin, Brian Bedford, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Jason Alexander, Sheila Reed, Ruthie Henshaw, Julian Ovenden, and many, many more. Is your head spinning yet? Yeah. Broadway, stage, screen, all kinds of people. Casting. So, one of the names that I mentioned, you might be going, oh, I think I've heard that name, but I don't know who that is. Julian Ovenden. Are you a Downton Abbey fan? He was Mr. Blake. the guy that Mary was actually supposed to end up with. Yes, Julian Fellowes actually let that out of the bag, that originally Mary and Mr. Blake were supposed to end up together. But Julian Ovenden had other commitments. I loved Mr. Blake. That's a side note. But anyway, yes, Julian Ovenden was Mr. Blake in the Downton Abbey series, and he's also Fred in the musical. So I do have a soft spot for this musical, not just because of the cast, not just because it's excellent, but also I was in my school's production of A Christmas Carol the musical, which is exactly like the movie. And I was Mrs. Fezziwig. I had a wonderful co-star. I had a lot of fun. I was also the stage manager. I wasn't credited in the program as the stage manager, but I was always the stage manager. It was my senior year of high school. And our actual stage manager freaked out when she realized how many things she was supposed to do. So I just did it for her. I also did makeup and prop master. I was busy. Oh yeah, I was also the banshee scream behind the stage because there's a moment where one of the ghosts scream during one of the songs, and that was me. I wore a lot of hats in that production, yeah. So, but my favorite role was Mrs. Fezziwig. So there's actually a moment in the movie and in the play that Mrs. Fezziwig and Mr. Fezziwig sing a song, Mr. Fezziwig's annual Christmas ball, and I've got a funny story for you if you've got a second. So here's a fun fact. The youngest person to ever win the Australian Opera Award that I know of, who was 17 at the time, was my vocal coach when I was a teenager. I never told hardly anyone when I moved to Alaska that I could sing. One person knew. And they begged me to try out for the musical because it was my senior year, so it would be my last chance. And they weren't going to be able to do it, but they thought I'd nail it, so they wanted me to do it. Okay, not going to tell you the details about that, but the show fell through after I had auditioned. And I auditioned with How Lovely to Be a Woman from Bye Bye Birdie. That is a slightly comedic song. I mean, not really that like ha-ha funny, not like the song that Kander and Ebb wrote for Liza Minnelli or anything, but it's not a serious vocal song. Let's put it this way, they couldn't see my vocal chops, okay? I don't know why I chose that song. I think I chose it because I was just trying to have fun. So they had no idea what I was singing, which is fine. So I just thought, meh, I'll be the stage manager again, like I am always. So long story short, the play fell through, and we had already auditioned. We had to change the play to A Christmas Carol the musical. I'm not going to tell you what it originally was, but let's put it this way. Yeah, I can see where that would be a problem. So Christmas Carol the musical is perfectly fine, perfectly wholesome, wonderful for the whole family. Plus, it was almost Christmas. So, I mean, it was perfect timing. So when I saw that it was going to be Christmas Carol the musical, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that that was anything but a movie. And I feel a little bad because it's like, I should know Broadway stuff. But anyway, I didn't know that it was actually more than just a movie with Kelsey Grammer. And it's exactly the same. I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's exactly the same. And so we actually did borrow my copy of the movie to figure out some blocking and stuff because I was still the director's assistant. That was my job. And I helped him with stuff, and he asked me, and he said, do you want to be anyone else, in the play? And I said, I'd like to be Mrs. Fezziwig. She's fun, I just want to have fun. And he's like, you don't want to be anybody else? I mean, you're a senior. You have first dibs on any of the ghosts. You could be Emily if you want to. Yes, in this version, Emily is Belle. We don't know why they changed her name. Nobody knows why they changed her name. Anyway. And I said, no, I want to be Mrs. Fezziwig. I mean, if I get a choice, she looks fun. So I got the role as Mrs. Fezziwig. There is a moment where Mrs. Fezziwig and Mr. Fezziwig have to sing a number, Mr. Fezziwig's annual Christmas ball. And there is a moment where Mrs. Fezziwig hits a note that is long and high. they had told me that the chorus is going to sing over that note, so I don't have to worry about, the fact that I won't be able to hit it. The very first time we rehearsed this, we were in a very small room. We were just practicing singing. We didn't do any blocking, really. We didn't do any of that. We were standing kind of where we're supposed to stand, but not really. And it was a very small room. And we had the entire cast there for the number. And my partner, who was Mr. Fezziwig, he was a good friend of mine. So he was thrilled that we were going to be husband and wife. So he was a good guy. And he was funny, too. Kind of hoping he went into some kind of comedic career, because I think he'd be very good. But anyway, he was thrilled. And so we did our rehearsal. He knew I could sing. Because we practiced together. But we didn't practice the whole song. So he knew I could sing. And we practiced that part, and we're getting towards that part, and the director's giving me the look like, don't worry, Yeah, I decided to hit the note and just go for it, and I nailed it. And the whole room went quiet. Jaws on the ground. Everybody, and I mean everybody in the room, is stopped. The music stopped. Everybody went. It was dead silent. It was very awkward. It was very awkward. For a minute, I was like, not what I was expecting. And then my co-star breaks the silence in Mr. Comedic fashion and goes, "That's my wife! Yeah!" And then everybody started laughing. But no chorus sang over me. It was just a fun memory. I thought you guys might like a fun little story snuck in here just for fun, especially because I haven't made a Film Friday in a while. Just a fun little juicy tidbit. But anyway, if you've never seen this version of A Christmas Carol, I highly recommend it. I am nothing like the woman in the movie who's played Mrs. Fezziwig. She's phenomenal, but I did nail it. Every single performance, so yeah. Of course, we had mishaps. If you guys ever want to hear about any of my stage stories or my life stories that people have told me I should write a book. So let me know if you want any more spoony tales. Okay, those are my top 5 favorite Christmas Carol adaptations. What are yours? Tell me down below. I would love to know, what are your top 5 favorite versions of A Christmas Carol? They can be animated, they can be parodies, they can be true adaptations. Doesn't matter. Just tell me in the comments. I would love to know. And maybe I haven't seen some of them. There have been over 300 adaptations. That doesn't count all the parodies, skits, and loose interpretations of all of them. So just in true adaptation form, there have been over 300. So you got a lot to choose from. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you liked this video. Let me know. Always willing to hear what you guys have to say. And I will be back sometime. Hopefully next week will be my announcement for the crochet along. Hoping, but we'll see. Remember, life happens, yarn helps, and spoonies can stitch it up too.